Hello, boys and girls. What is that you hear? Let's take a listen for a second. I hear some maybe crickets and some lightning bugs maybe. Maybe some cicadas or frogs. Well, guess what? This all has to do with what we're learning this week. I have put some sounds on for a night in the country. A night in the country. And these are some of the sounds you may hear at night in the country, even where we live. So I'm going to pause my sounds real quick. And then we're going to get started with what we're doing this week. Before we get started, we always want to review what we learned last week. Last week, we talked about questions. What makes a question? And if you remember, this comes at the end of sentences when we ask a question. Who knows what this is? A question mark. Good job. So we like to ask questions when we read. We like to ask them before we read, when we're reading, so during, and after we read. And Miss Bumgarner taught you a song about how you can ask questions and how you can answer questions when somebody asks you. So get out your Flying Five guy, and I'm actually going to bring in somebody special, so hold tight. I'm coming back. This is the Flying Five guy, and he helps us ask and answer questions when we read. So let's sing our song. So this is how it goes. Hold up your five and touch your fingers as we sing. I've got the who, what, where, when, why, and how. I've got the who, what, where, when, why, and how. I've got the who, what, where, when, why, and how. I've got the main idea in my hand. So some of your teachers last week probably asked you who was in our story, the smallest girl in the smallest grade, and what she was doing in that story. And you probably even had some questions yourself about it. And if you remember our Curious George activity where you had to figure out or see what he was doing, and you asked some very great questions. Okay, let me bring my chart back over for our lesson today. So we're going to bring this back over. Okay, so our book today is A Night in the Country, and this is what we're going to learn about this week. We're going to learn about setting. Can you say that with me? Setting. The setting is where and when the story takes place. So when we read, we want to know where the story is happening and maybe what time of year or what time during the day the story is happening. Now we can kind of tell just by the title when this book is taking place. And where? It says night in the country. So, I know it's nighttime because it's in my title. And country is a place where we live. So, I think that might be the setting. But there's lots of different things in the country that can make a setting. So, the setting is where the story takes place. And I like to do this with my boys and girls. So we say this after Miss Bumgarner. We say a setting is where, so pretend you're making a house, the story takes place. So see if you can do that with me. The setting is where the story takes place. And if you can't make a house with your fingers like Miss Bumgarner, you can always just do this for the top of a house. So a setting is where the story takes place. Okay, we're going to read our book. Oh, might need to turn it the right way. today, and I want you to see as we're reading if you can see some of the settings in the story or a setting. There is no night so dark, so black as night in the country. In little houses, people lie sleeping and dreaming about daytime things, while outside in the fields and by the rivers and deep in the trees, there is only night and nighttime things. So, wonder what time of day this story is happening. I just asked you a question. See if you can answer it. There are owls, great owls with marble eyes who swoop among the trees and who are not afraid of night in the country. Night birds. There are frogs, night frogs, who sing songs for every night. Reek, 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 reek. Night songs. And if you are one of those people in one of those little houses, and if you cannot sleep, you will hear the sounds of night in the country all around you. Outside, the dog's chain clinks as he gets up for a drink of water. Far over the hill, you hear someone open and close a creaking screen door, and you wonder who is up late. And if you lie very still, you may hear an apple fall from the tree in the backyard. Listen. Plonk. Plonk. Later, the rabbits will patter into your yard and eat pieces of your fallen apples, but only when they think you're asleep. And all around you on a night in the country are the groans and thumps and squeaks that houses make when they are trying, like you, to sleep. Outside, a raccoon mother licks her baby. So I want you to take a look at what you may see outside right now. So, remember where the story takes place is the setting. So, could this page be showing you some of the setting? A cow nuzzles her calf, and an old pig rolls over in the barn. I want you to pause right here and see if you can let your teachers know, what is the setting of this page? It has changed. So we were just outside. Now we're inside somewhere in the book. And toward morning, one small bird will be the first to tell everyone that night in the country is nearly over. So see, the time of day is starting to change. The owls will go to sleep, the frogs will grow quiet, and the rabbits will run away. So, did daytime change? This looks a little bit different to me. So pause again and see if you can respond. Then they will spend a day in the country listening to you. I wonder who is the you in this story. So if the night owl and the rabbits and the frogs stay quiet, who do you think they are listening to? Because you have to look at the pictures. Remember, our pictures give us lots of clues. Our illustrations give us lots of clues as to what's going on in the story. The end. So, we're talking about the setting of a night in the country. Did you know that settings can change throughout stories? I saw a few places in our book that the setting changed. We started at the little house and we went to different places around this thing, and I don't want to give it away. I want to see if you can guess where they are. But a setting can change throughout the story. So we see here this family is going on vacation, and if they're going on vacation, they don't stay at their house. They leave and go somewhere else. So just like when you go on vacation and you leave and go to a new place, that's a new setting. So books can also do that. They can change the setting throughout the story. So I said we ask questions before, during, and after we read. So here's my first question. I want you to see if you can answer this after I read it. What do you hear at night where you live? So pause the video and I want you to see if you can answer that for your teacher. Now remember, they may have you raise your hand so you're all not shouting out at the same time. So I want you to think in your head, what might you hear at night where you live? And then they're going to call on you to see. We have an anchor chart here, and I kind of drew a picture of the night in the country. And you can see an orange and a red tree, but there's a reason that my tree is orange and red. It's because it is starting to be fall, and when it's fall, when we get to fall, our leaves change colors. So that's why I kind of drew some fall trees. And I drew some black clouds and a moon to show that it was nighttime in the country. So what you're going to do with your teacher is, if you're here at school, is you're going to think about some of the settings that were in our story. And if you're at home, I want you to also think about these settings. I'm going to give you a clue. I'm going to give you one of the places that I saw that was a setting. Now, if you can't write words yet, that's okay. I can either sound them out or I can draw a picture. So I'm going to draw a picture of one of the places that I knew was in the story. And it told me because it said it was a small house. So I'm going to draw a house because that was one of the settings. And I know it might be really small right here, and that's okay, but that is a house. And then, I remembered that the story was outside. So I'm going to change my marker, and I'm going to draw what I thought the outside looked. And I remember that one of the times that it was outside was nighttime. So I'm going to draw like some black lines up here to show that it's nighttime. And I drew some grass and like some little bushes to show that it is outside. Now, when we're talking about setting, we're not talking about people in the story. We're only talking about where the story takes place. So I drew outside, I drew the house, and there are lots of other settings in the story. Before we go, let's review what a setting is. See if you can remember to do this with me. A setting is where the story takes place. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the lessons this week.